I think I did my first 10 years, I probably let, other priorities slip. I hadn't, jogged a mile, or I hadn't done any exercise literally for a decade. And I remember, some of my friends, some of my friends in ophthalmology are like, hey, we're going to go on this trip. We're going to go, bike Mount Ventoux in France. Wiley, you should do it. And I was like, okay, I should probably get in shape. And I literally ran around the block, about puked. And I was probably 30 pounds overweight, totally out of shape. I was like, oh my gosh, where's the time gone? I used to be pretty good at athletics. I used to be able to bike, hike, or do all that stuff. And I said, you know what, I gotta make a change. And so, and I trained for that and got back into it. And then a couple of years later, did some triathlons with other friends. And now it's part of my daily routine to make sure that I do some sort of physical activity basically every day. And looking back, I think I should have done that earlier. I think I was lucky to get away with taking a decade off and then somehow getting back into it. But I think most people, you take that much time off, you just never get back into it. And I think that ultimately can work against you. And I think making sure that's a part of my daily routine has kind of given me, new life and new energy. Allows me to feel stronger in the OR, to have longer days, to have more energy to do what I really like doing. And so I feel like it's definitely been a worthwhile investment. And it's one of those things I always would say. I tell my wife, I was like, oh, you should go run or you should go bike. I was like, oh, I don't have time. I've got to do this. I've got to work on the practice. I got to do whatever. And so I always had that excuse. I don't have time. But what I now realize, any hour that I do doing any physical activity is I'm going to get 2 hours back of energy. And so whatever you're doing, you gain it back, and even more so. So that excuse is no longer valid. And so anybody listening, I would say definitely, make sure you're taking time for yourself. And if that's like, physical activity, or if it's chasing your careers or passions, one thing that's kind of, come back into my life. I remember in residency when I was in Chicago, I'd gotten into this sport called kite surfing. It was really early on. Me and my buddies bought kites off eBay, and it was this sort of really esoteric sport, and the equipment was really premature and new. And so, we were doing it in downtown Chicago. Really, thank God I didn't kill myself. But I look back at what we were doing. It was not smart. We had no training, no expertise. And so, and then I joined my father's practice. I put those kites and the equipment. It literally sat in my basement for 15 years. And then in the past sort of 5 years, some of my friends, I see some young residents that were in training talking about kite surfing. They're like, oh, we're going kite surfing in Turkey or Portugal or whatever it might be. And I said, oh my gosh, I literally was doing that at your age, and it just disappeared. So I've made it a focus. I said, okay, I'm going to get back into that sport or do things that were truly my passions. I realized now I get to do it with my son, who's 13, and he's chasing it. So, so anyways, I definitely recommend, don't put everything into your practice or your career. You've got to have a full balanced life. And so finding that kind of live hard, play hard balance is important. And, you can't have the excuses, I don't have time.